it's worth the price of a small kingdom. I'm like, no, a sword is worth the price of a small. Like, you could buy Westeros with this armor. You could buy all of Westeros.
That's how we actually end the conflict here. Is they just show up to Rhaenyra and they're like, "Hey, is this cool? Like, we'll give you this, and then we get the kingdom, and you can take this to Pentos and just like own everything on the other side of the sea."
Exactly. I think that's a fair trade.
Dragonclaw, wing and scale. Come now, let's examine a tale of the greatest beast ever considered. Another episode of Big Flying Lizards.
You know what I'm sipping on there?
What are you sipping on?
I'll give you one single guess.
Well, I'm guessing it's Team Black's tears over here for such.
That would be some green tea.
Oh.
Green tea was the answer we were looking for. And I'd ask you, but I already know you only drink America-themed energy beverages.
Booked up.
And I don't know what else. You're not really a coffee guy.
No, I don't like the flavor. Sorry.
Yeah, not really for the booze either.
No, not really.
No. It's just red, white, and blue. That's really the only thing going into this guy.
250 milligrams of caffeine. Red, white, and blue, brother. Welcome to Big Flying Lizards, a dragon movie and television podcast. I am one of your hosts, the Sultan of Socials, Bryce Wilson, and I am joined by my co-host and dearest friend, the Prince of Production, Austin Snyder.
That's me. I'm Austin.
Austin,
Hi.
what are we doing today?
Today, we are talking dragons.
We are talking dragons.
It's what we do, but we are continuing our coverage of House of the Dragon Season 2 with a discussion of Season 2, Episode 3, The Burning Mill.
And we do have a new dragon to discuss, which we will at the end of this episode.
That'll be right there at the end. Very exciting. It's been a while since we had one of these.
I'm excited to get going on it.
But before diving into the episode proper, we have a bit of a new segment up top here where we are going to be reading some of your comments. So those coming up. What do we have here, Mr. Sultan of Socials?
Well, of our loyal foot soldiers, they send their ravens in via comments. And the first one comes from Alex BZ8LJ. Another difference between Joffrey and Aegon is Aegon isn't a coward and actually fights his own battles. And I think we actually see a lot of proof to this in this current episode.
I don't know. I feel like this episode kind of disproves that point.
He was the one that first, like, I will go into the battle leaving Aemond here. Like, I will go there if it wasn't for a certain Larys.
He got talked out of it pretty quick.
He did.
But I do take the commenter's point.
Yes.
That Aegon seems a little more gung-ho to that end. I'm not saying that he fights his own battles well, but another key difference in between him and Joffrey from the original series as well.
Yes.
I follow. What else we got?
The next message is from Shay J 1337. Rhys Ifans seen the cry out for Patty's snubbed Emmy nomination and brought the sauce. Him and Tom, who played Aemond, which I think they mean Aegon, really acted their butts off this episode, and it has to go down as one of the best episodes. Also, I love the 90-minute to 120-minute episodes. Glad I caught up on these episodes. Really loving the content, dudes. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment. And with the sauce. I love that phrasing.
And they really did. Like, I don't think we can emphasize how much that scene, like, it might be my favorite scene in the entire show as of right now. Like, at least
without a dragon.
Without a dragon. Between two characters, I think it's the best dialogue scene that we've seen so far.
It's probably my favorite auto scene. To say the least.
Yeah, most definitely. And easily my favorite Aegon scene.
So far.
I
see a lot of potential in that character. But thank you for the comment. Sorry, the name J. Ray. roll the clip again.
Shay J 1337. And our last message is from Misty Step. Goat spell, by the way.
That one I can remember because always.
Amazing spell. You have to have it if you can cast spells. But Aegon crying, I think his first reaction as a king losing an heir and his legacy. Then later in the episode, Aegon crying was his processing that he lost his son, not just his heir. I also think that Aegon did care about Jaehaerys, but he doesn't give a shit about his bastards. He definitely loves all his kids equally, lol. And yet, in Westeros, bastards are seen as inherently untrustworthy. So going back, I think we had a conversation toward the end of our last episode, whether it was Aegon's legacy that he was mourning or if it was actually his son. And I went back and watched a little bit of both of the last episode, and I think I'm inclined to believe, go with what Misty Step is saying. At first, when he's smashing the minis, it was more the loss of his legacy. But when Alicent walks in on him crying, I do think that's him mourning his son.
Yeah, and I guess you could almost layer it up that, as we said, the model of old Valyria is Viserys's legacy. So it'd be him mourning the loss of his legacy as he's destroying the legacy of his father, in a sense. I like that a lot. That's a great comment, Misty Step. Excellent.
Yeah, thank you. And that is our messages from our
as
viewers.
Always, so many great comments.
Yes.
Wish we could just rattle them all off and respond, but I guess I'll leave that duty to Bryce over here.
Yeah, and don't just comment on YouTube. Comment on all platforms. You can comment on our TikTok. You can comment on our Instagram. You can comment on our Facebook. You can tweet at us if you want to go on X and tweet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
That's the one I'm especially glad to leave to you. Good luck keeping this a not political podcast over there. But at Big Liz Pod on all platforms. Check us out.
Yeah. But
I think that's enough dilly-dallying.
The Burning Mail.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 3.
How are we feeling about it overall, Bryce?
Initial reaction, it's good. I don't think it's as good as episode 2, but I don't think it's as slow as episode 1 was. It definitely was a building episode, but I think it was more exciting of a building episode than episode 1 was.
I liked it as well. I do feel like this episode was a big-ass tease.
Yes.
Especially the way that they teed it up. Like the episode preview, it's got the Caraxes roaring, and then you've got Criston Cole and the Knights running away. But the way that they edited it, made it look more like they were charging toward the dragon.
Yeah.
And then in the actual episode, Caraxes just does that when he arrives to nobody, and
He looks amazing though.
Oh, yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
And then the other is the Knights just running into the forest, not actually engaging the dragon. So, I mean, just based on the presentation, that felt like a little bit of a ripoff. But as I've been processing the actual episode, I think there's some good stuff here.
The part that I'll criticize, and we'll get back into it, is I think they're trying to show Rhaenyra too indecisive. They could have made Rhaenyra making these decisions that she's making in the last 2 episodes.
It's a tricky thing too, because that's a real aspect to being a new ruler. Is it's so much pressure and you don't want to make the wrong decision, and there are arguments one way or another.
Yeah.
But that just doesn't really make for compelling television.
No, I mean like they've said, there's battles already taking place. People are dying. And she's like, well, maybe we can still avoid it. If I go and explain to my girl, she'll understand.
Yeah. And there was some discussion early on here as we jump into. We'll circle back to the Brakens and Blackwoods, but as Rhaenys is talking with Rhaenyra, she's like, I mean, it seems like the war started, but when did it really start here? So I think that's part of it here, is her not really wanting to face the fact that we are at war. And It doesn't really matter who's to blame or where that's coming from, who's in the right. war is happening.
Yes. And something I do have to just present, and somebody presented this in the comments, and I apologize. I wish I could provide more of a name at this moment. But Rhaenys is like ready to burn people down. Like she wants to go full Jacaris on their asses in the books, apparently. Like she is not over here like, well, you should think about this.
Oh, that's interesting because Rhaenys in the show is like the coolest head in the room.
No, apparently in the book, she's like, we need to go there and burn their castles to the ground and put heads on spikes that are not burned down. So
book continuity, Rhaenys is still not over. Oh wait, no, that's because it's Rhaenyra that she presumably would have taken care of. No, I'm getting lost in my thing.
Lost in the sauce.
Book continuity, Rhaenys is all fired up. Notable difference. But I just love everything Eve Best is doing. So like no criticism on my end.
I know. And I just think it's interesting that they're deciding to go this direction, especially where we saw she had that fire in episode 9 of
season 1.
Of season 1. Like it's I love Eve Best. I love what she's doing, but it's just interesting to see the different layers that we're getting from her. But I think we need to go to where the episode title came from. The Burning Mill.
Burning Mill. Also, HBO, if you're watching, if you could put up your actual episode titles with a little bit more haste, that'd be cool.
Yeah, like what's up with you putting your episode title an hour after the episode drops? Like I could be wrong, but we put our episode titles when we drop our episodes immediately. We don't drop episode 3 of season 2 of House of the Dragon.
We also don't number our episodes, and also our episodes are dependent on other media. So I don't know if that is a fair criticism there, Bryce, but I'm with you. HBO, like, come on. I mean, that's kind of although maybe it's all just a master play for the hype to build around episode 4 with a Dance of Dragons, I think it's called.
I think so.
Yeah, that's because that's been the only one that's had a title listed everywhere.
Except for episode 1.
Yes.
Episode 1 and episode 4 have been the ones that are like, hey, dude, guys.
Maybe that's
You're going to like it.
I don't know.
You're going to like it, trust me. But the Brakens and the Blackwoods.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts off with the Brackens supposedly moving their borders over onto Blackwood land. And it's 4 boys versus 4 boys. And it's like, we already got the sense in the last, and we've talked about this previously, that the Brackens and the Blackwoods, they hate each other. Like they've hated each other for generations and generations to the point where they don't even know what they hate each other over. Sort of reminds me in Avatar: The Last Airbender that those 2 tribes that go through the gorge, where it's like the super proper ones, the one where Sokka and Katara.
Yeah. I follow you.
And they're over there like arguing, and they don't know what they're arguing over. And then Aang lies to them. Anyways, I'm getting lost in the sauce here as well. But
it's a feud as old as time.
Yes.
And in this world.
And it definitely feels like they picked sides for the convenience of going to war with each other. Like, because
they're just like waiting, and then the Blackwoods are like, we're Team Black. And like, oh, that means we're Team Green.
Well, I mean, because it started off with the border moving. It didn't start off with like, I heard that you declared for the usurper Aegon. No, it's like, sir, these rocks over here seem like they moved a little bit of 5 feet over to the right. You're going to need to move that back. Mm-hmm. Oh, no? Well, guess what? Rhaenyra! Team Black, baby!
I also think, whether that's George, whether that's the show, whoever decided to put the Blackwoods on Team Black, thank you. The synchronicity makes it easy. I appreciate that one.
Good on you, George. We know you're watching.
He's our biggest fan.
Yeah, he just figured out how to use YouTube last week.
I have received several handwritten notes, typewritten notes.
Via Raven.
Yeah.
But the scene ends. Well, I don't think we actually hear them say the names, but later in the episode they declare that on the Blackwood it's Samuel Blackwood, and on the Brackens it's Amos Bracken. And the scene ends with because it just sort of was panning out. We see the dead body of Amos, and it's like, oh, there's a couple dead. Oh, oh my
It just
God.
keeps going.
Blackwoods coming in hot. Oh shit.
Oh my God. Bodies. Oh my. And I think it hits harder that they do it all in one shot.
Yeah, because it's just slowly panning, and like at first we were just like, it's keep it going.
You're like, oh well, they lost that 4-on-4 there, but it's a little bigger than that.
And we see the burning mill.
Oh yeah. I get it now.
And I'm willing to dive more into it, but I really feel like this part in particular is almost like a parable for this entire episode.
I think we're onto the same thing, and it really comes together there at the end.
Yes.
So maybe we save that.
We'll save
for the end.
But there's a burning mill.
There's the burning mill.
Episode stamp. But
Also, just super cool shot.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we already kind of said it, but like the sword through the neck, and then as it pans out, just
and they're all prosthetics.
But it looks great.
Yeah, we watched the behind the scenes, and they look legitimate. Like I was thinking, like, wow, like that actor must have been laying there for a while.
This also, to my point about this episode feeling like kind of just one big tease. I think at first I was like, oh, and then we just hard cut to the end of the battle. But I think they're really just like whetting our appetite for something big, like some big action play to come up. And I also think that the hard cut just makes it all the more effective.
Oh, so, for sure.
Opening totally worked for me. I think you're with me on that one. But we move to the funeral for poor Arryk and Erryk.
Yeah, we don't have to be saying their names after this.
Thank you for that one as well. I am happy. Like I liked their whole like mini story, the conflict, the two brothers and all that. It was really well handled, especially in the last episode. But the Erryk thing, very happy to be done with that as a podcaster.
Yes. And Jace is almost angry that they're having a funeral service for Arryk. Like,
yeah, but Rhaenyra gets it.
Yeah, she's like, hey, this is her brother, like his brother, and you really can't fault him for staying loyal. Like, even though it's like messed up, he stayed loyal. And even like Daemon, if you remember in episode 10 of the last series, Daemon said, in the last season, he even said to the King's Guard, like, if you swear now to Rhaenyra, or you go for the usurper king, and I will give you a quick death. To me, that's like, he's saying like, hey, like, I get it. If you're going to stay loyal to the king, like, sure, you're going to die, but I won't torture you like if you betray us. Like, that's, which, I mean, it's honorable in Daemon's own way. I have some interesting thoughts about Daemon in this episode.
Do we need to toggle Daemon defense on real quick?
Not yet.
Hand on the trigger.
But
I already got the graphic made from the last episode.
And it's been used in several ways since. But we go to the first
wait, okay, but I do want to mention that just like there's that conversation between Rhaenys and Rhaenyra.
Oh yeah,
where they're sort of discussing the beginnings of the war, and she compares that to the Brakens and Blackwoods feud.
And there was a comment that she made, and to be honest, like, she's right, but I don't think that it doesn't make sense that she's right, because she was like, I don't believe that Otto Hightower would send Sir Arryk to kill you, which I get because he didn't. But if we remember in episode 9, he was like, Sir Westerling, take some knights and go kill Rhaenyra. Like he was gonna go send the knights to go kill him. So I mean,
you're not wrong, but you're also wrong.
I know that
Otto vehemently disagreed with this plan after they'd been dispatched.
I know, I understand. I am just pointing out that there is like, because I was thinking that, like, yes, Otto vehemently disagreed, and it's part of our favorite scene. But at the same time, he was ready to send the entire King's Guard down to go kill Rhaenyra.
Doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter, but just wanted to at least put that out there.
We're moving on to Criston Cole.
Yes. Well, also, real quick, Rhaenyra won't read Alicent's letter. That's what comes out of this.
Oh, yes, she has it already.
Yeah, like
that's just irresponsible.
And that's, again, like, this is part of me that I'm struggling with Rhaenyra in this episode, because she's like trying to play it cautious, but at the same time she's doing, like, she's not reading the messages from the other side. Like, I feel like that's an inconsistency.
It's like what Daemon defense on. It's what Daemon was bringing up in their argument in the last episode. It's like, they're at war. She needs to play every advantage.
Yes.
And in this episode, I think we're on the verge of flipping, but it's like, it felt like at the end of the last season with that look that Darcy gives us after Luke dies.
Yeah.
Oh, she's ready.
She's locked in. She's ready to go.
Yeah, she's gonna be making moves, and then they kind of brought that down like 5 or 6 notches so that we could ramp back up in the season.
I would almost rather if we would have
Daemon defense off.
Oh, that weight. It's taken off.
We don't want to live in that space too long.
It's a dark place. But I would have rather them just given us like a devastated look from Rhaenyra at the end of season 1. Because like again, it's just teasing us up. Like if we have to go, like if Rhaenyra is not ready to be like, all right, no, you're going over here and taking out these people. You're going here and taking out these people. Like, when are we going to get that? Because that was the Rhaenyra we saw at the end of season 1. And right now we're just like, well,
I don't know. Maybe we can talk it out.
Like, that ship was burned a long time ago.
I'll take another sip of this green tea.
But, okay, yes, we go to the hand of the king, Sir Criston Cole.
This opening shot with him really worked as a tone setter for me, too, with his hands on the chair, and he's just like, oh, no.
Because I think Cole is starting to, like, really lose it. Like,
I think he was already feeling overwhelmed as the head of the King's Guard.
Yes.
And then he gets a promotion to an even more significant role that he feels even further out of his depth with. And he just had, like, his plan just kind of exploded in his face.
Yeah.
It's too much for anybody, let alone somebody who's already like twisted and kind of lost like Cole.
Do you think in that moment right there he's feeling like enormous guilt for Arryk's death, or do you think that has more to do with him just feeling overwhelmed with his role?
I think more the latter. I think if he was going to feel a way over Arryk, he probably wouldn't have sent him on the mission.
Yes, but I also feel like in the moment he was flailing. Like,
maybe it's in his head. I think that Cole has so much going on, and I think it's more just what's immediately in front of him. I think he's more absorbed with his own problems.
I get that, but where it's not necessarily the next scene, but like going into the scene, we're seeing that he's surrounded by Kingsguard that he doesn't even know. Like, we see the 2 guys that are just like lounging on the chair, like on the steps.
Yeah, it's Aegon's freaking entourage
that
he's appointed. Which this is Aegon. And listen, Rhaenyra got this at the same age. So we can criticize Aegon, despite all that.
Yes.
For appointing his boys to be part of the Kingsguard. Like, no, they have an actual job to do, dude.
Yeah. And like, when he comes into the small council meeting, the one guy's just like leaning, like, with Otto gone, the discipline in the castle is like gone down significantly.
Oh, major slippage.
Like, it's not a good look.
And although I did find it pretty amusing, the scene where he's talking to his boys and he's like, "Oh, but you've sworn oaths of chastity now," and it's unclear whether or not he's being serious there.
And because at first they're like, right, and they're like, oh, yes, Your Grace.
Sure. Just imagine that. It's like it can be an honorable thing to swear an oath of chastity or whatever, in this context, I guess. But imagine doing that, thinking you didn't actually have to fulfill it, and then all of a sudden you're getting the vibe that like you're gonna get beheaded, and like, oh, I guess no more sex.
But jumping ahead, like they go to a brothel, so clearly, like
that's true. I think he was just trying to be funny.
I don't. Here's
Old
my
Aegon.
like we'll get to the. There's more I want to discuss, so we'll discuss more of that in a little bit. But one thing that's notable is they're getting rid of all the old Targaryen signals, and they're replacing it with the green banners with the gold dragons on it.
Which, honestly, upgrades. If you ask me, I love the green and gold.
But I am a traditionalist who loves that red and black.
Well, I guess that just makes sense.
Team Black, baby!
We'll let us all centered up there.
But he's clearly late to the Team Green small council meeting.
Cole is late.
Yes.
He excuses himself for it, but we're getting into a scene with all the major green players, minus Otto, again. An Otto-less episode.
And Aemond is now at the table.
Yes.
Which he's not been at this point. And I don't know if you caught this or not, but he's playing with a coin in his hand.
I noticed that, but I didn't clock any significance.
That's the coin he was holding up in the last episode. That was the only... Because...
him and Cole were like kind of playing at it with the coins were there, like army indicators.
But Blood took all of the coins except for one that was left.
Oh, so it's the reminder that it could have been him.
Yeah.
Ooh, shit.
Yeah.
Nice.
And he's just playing with it there. And he's not really saying too much, but he's there and he's being supportive. But essentially they're talking about the battle between the Brakens and the Blackwoods. And they're saying the same thing that Rhaenys and Rhaenyra were saying, that like they were going to go, like they just want an excuse to kill each other. Like, yes, it's the first official battle between like Team Black and Team Green, but it's not about Team Black and Team Green.
But this, yeah, I mean, it's kind of the equivalent that we're getting a lot of from Rhaenyra for the Greens to be like waffling a little bit. Like, I mean, we're at war, but like, are we at war?
Exactly. But they have the same idea that Team Black has as well, where they're like, we need to get to Harrenhal. Like, Harrenhal is where
it's going down.
It's going down. And Cole, I feel for Cole. Like, first of all, we here at the Big Liz Pod, we support Fabian Franco. We do not support...
That's Franco.
We support Fabian Franco and Franco. And
we do not support James Franco.
No, we do not. We do not. Not a James Franco fan. But here, Fabian, he's doing an amazing job. Hate the character, don't hate the player.
Yeah, lay off this guy.
He's doing an amazing job.
He's getting the Joffrey treatment from Game of Thrones. It's like,
and the Cersei treatment.
Yeah, it was like this actor's making you feel some profound emotions. Like that is them doing a good job.
Exactly. And like, I know. And we didn't really gas him up that much during our Lizzie's. Go watch the Lizzie's Award. Yeah. But he still is doing a really good job, and he's making.
Again, his character's kind of flailing. He's kind of all over the place, but that feels by design to me. Like, yes. I am more invested in the character and more interested to see where Criston Cole goes.
Yes.
At this point than I ever was in season 1.
Oh,
so that's a positive for this season for me.
But in this meeting, he is not saying anything. He's just sort of looking around. And mind you, Otto was like the one who was saying the most during the small council meetings. Mm-hmm. And like everyone keeps looking to him to be like, what you gonna do? What you gonna say? And he's not really saying anything except for like when they start talking battle strategy, which yes, there's some people in our comments that are saying in a war, you want to have a hand who is a battle strategist. But like Otto was a knight. Like I'm pretty sure Otto has some fighting experience. I at least would assume he has a military mind because it's Sir Otto Hightower. You don't just like, I don't know. Like again, we haven't read the books. because apparently some of you think that we have read the books or wonder if we've read the books. So we have not read the books. I assume you don't get just knighted for
yeah. It's sorry, I was trying to look up the pronunciation on this because I'm gonna butcher it, but it's like a thing in The Godfather where there's talk about Robert Duvall is the word is consigliere.
Consigliere.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
But it's like the equivalent. Like obviously there's the head, and then this is like their number one.
Yes.
And there's a lot of talk in those films about like at the beginning or like once things are like going south that Robert Duvall is not a wartime consigliere. Like even if he's very capable at a lot of things, he's not.
Yes.
Like he's not good in that context. And extrapolating from that and like kind of what we're seeing here, I almost feel like it's one or the other. Like you're either going to be really good at this one specific, like albeit very important in a Game of Thrones context thing, like the art of war.
Yes.
Or you're going to be good at actually running a kingdom and maintaining peace.
So this is how
and Cole is not very good at the latter. So
No.
if he's good at something, I'm thinking it'll be the first.
Like, I just want to pose this to the audience. I view this very similarly as if they would have named the mountain the Hand of the King in a Game of Thrones. An amazing fighter, and amazing in the battlefield. But do you want the mountain discussing the matters of state? Like, no.
I think it's consigliere.
Consigliere.
Maybe I'll drop in the edit on this. Close enough. In the Godfather films, it's pronounced consigliere. Tom Hagen is not a wartime consigliere.
But the plan is that Cole is going to take all of their troops out of King's Landing to send them to Harrenhal.
But they're going to keep Vhagar.
But they're going to keep Vhagar is
He's thought it through.
He's thought it through. But there has to be a dragon. So who are they going to bring? They're going to bring Aegon. Aegon, the king is going to come to the front lines.
And yeah, see, that's what was throwing me for a loop, because in seeing the advertising and all of that, because we see Moondancer in the episode, and like where they show Aegon gearing up, I'm like, is that Sunfire? Because that doesn't really match the little glimpse we got of it in the last. But it's not, and I am still on the edge of my seat, like waiting for Sunfire's big reveal.
The most beautiful dragon of all.
It's the expectations are sky high. Don't mess it up.
But and again, just going back to the comment that was made that we highlighted earlier, showing that it was Aegon saying, I want to go. Like, I want to go there. And I'm sure that there is a little level of revenge, that he wants to go there to start striking his revenge for the death of his son and his legacy. So.
And it's him saying, like, wanting to prove himself.
Yes.
Like there's the comment that he's like, I'm as fierce as any of them, which is ridiculous. But it's showing that he wants to be that.
And I really see that he's trying, like, I don't think he's trying to be his father. He is trying to be Aegon the Conqueror. He wants to be his namesake. He doesn't want to be Viserys the Peaceful. He wants to be Aegon the Conqueror. Which, I mean, who doesn't want to be Aegon the Conqueror?
I don't know. Good people.
Who doesn't want the largest dragon in existence, Austin?
Okay, well, you're talking to the right guy. Good convo. We need to pick up the pace a little bit here.
We go to Dragonstone.
Yes, with Mysaria and Rhaenyra.
And Mysaria is watching Sea Smoke.
Yes.
I thought it was Cyrax at first, but we do find out it's Sea Smoke.
Which I don't like. You have to have the magic blood to claim a dragon.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just going to get toasted.
Yes.
Okay, because this was, and there's some discussion of this later with the introduction of Ulf, who I have a feeling is going to be a very big deal. But like when in discussing Sea Smoke, I'm like, it's been how many years? Like, why isn't there just like a line of people trying to get on this dragon? Like, why doesn't he have a line of suitors like Rhaenyra did in season 1?
Well, let's think about it, though. The only people that can really ride the dragon that don't have dragons at this point is Baela. I mean, not Baela.
Rhaena.
Rhaena's the only person that doesn't have a dragon at this point that could possibly ride Sea Smoke.
See, that's what I'm saying. And maybe this is just me, a little boy all grown up, desperate to have a dragon. That I'm like, go for it, girl.
I really get the sense that because Rhaena just seems like, I love the actress and what she's doing with the character, but she just feels timid. She she tries to, like, she gets offended when they try to send her away and everything, but that's just the vibe that she's giving off, though.
But we get some indication in the last season that maybe the seed of that is the fact she doesn't have a dragon.
It could be, but she's not giving us that big dragon energy over here.
Yeah. I mean, we get a little bit more from her in this episode. There's a scene where she's sent off to Pentos with some dragon eggs. I really don't know if we're going to be following up on that or not. I'm not sure if I'm really interested to see more from her, but it's fine, you know.
But going back to the scene between Mysaria and Rhaenyra, like, I get it. Like, she came before Varys, but they're trying so hard to make her Varys, because Varys was like, you've got to think about the small folk. I care about the small folk. And like, she's saying the same things. She's the master of whispers for Rhaenyra. Like, she's Varys, and
just worse.
Like, I don't, like, make her own character. She's an interesting enough character without having to make her the spider. Like, don't.
Yeah, and they're also, in this scene, they do clarify that she supposedly turned back, not supposedly, in the continuity of the show, she turned back to warn Rhaenyra about Sir Arryk.
Yes. Sir Erryk.
Yeah. Right?
Sir Erryk is Team Green. Sir Arryk is Team Green. Erryk is Team Black.
Yeah, so she was warning about Arryk.
Yes.
Yes. You all know what we're talking about. No, we're still dealing with it. Oh!
Get rid of them. They're dead.
Anyway, but I mean, there was a little confusion between the two of us on whether or not she was making a decision there in the last. It confirms in this scene that yes, she did go back to warn Rhaenyra. She had some difficulty doing so, but that was the choice that she made. So it would seem that just when she thought she was out, Mysaria's back in.
And as payment, she wants to join the council. She wants to be in council with Rhaenyra.
Okay.
Which, I mean, like,
you could do worse.
You could do worse. I mean, like,
she's a proven spy master.
Yes.
You know, everybody needs one of those, as we've discussed.
Yeah, you need a spy master. But the next scene, we already touched on it a little bit. Rhaenyra is sending Rhaena to the Vale with Joffrey, because they promised the Vale that that if the Vale joined their side, the Vale needed to have a dragon there as a form of protection. So they're going to send Joffrey, which is the third oldest, to foster with Rhaenyra's cousin at the Vale. But after she drops them off, she's going to send the youngest two with Rhaena back to Pentos across the Narrow Sea.
Right. And we'll see if there's any follow-up on this. I don't really have any notes on the scene otherwise.
We were pretty much covered everything. But
although there a great meme that I saw in the last one, that people reacting to when Alicent walks in on Aegon sobbing at the end of episode 2 and then just walks out. And it's like that compared to the warmth that Rhaenyra has with her family.
Yeah.
Pretty clear contrast, and that's sort of underlined in this scene where she's like, family is important, and I need to cherish these moments and all that.
What is duty? What is honor?
Mm-hmm. And also there's the line that later in the scene between Helaena and Alicent, I wrote it down here. Alicent says the line, sadness is a condition of motherhood. Like, that about sums up your perspective on it, don't it?
Sad but true.
That does not have to be true, Alicent, dear.
She just never has been happy as a mother, though. Like, I don't think we've seen one scene where she's been happy with her children.
Yeah. I mean, she's in a weird situation, like how she, like, even came about bearing these children. Yeah. And then especially Aegon ended up being a literal terror.
Yes.
But...
and let's not even get started on Aemond. Like...
But
we go to Harrenhal. Before we dive too much then.
40 minutes in.
16.
We're to Harrenhal with Caraxes, right?
Yes, Caraxes. And they make Harrenhal and Caraxes. Like, everything about this scene in particular just looks so good. The castle looks menacing. Like, when Daemon, Caraxes is looking so good. It's so dark you can't tell that he's a red dragon. He looks like a black dragon. Which that could be a reference to when Aegon conquered. He came in with his black dragon and destroyed Harrenhal.
Oh yeah, there's a thought.
Like, it could be a flash to that. And Daemon's going around. Like,
the point is, it looks really, really good.
Yes.
And I'm gonna sound like a broken record here. The wet look. Get your dragons wet. They look 10 times cooler.
Yes.
I feel like that's gonna be like my like clothing line.
Get your dragons wet.
No, I'll have I'll get Matt Smith to do a spot. He'll be like Wet Dragon by Austin Snyder. H&M.
There's a particular dragon brand that might be willing to sponsor that.
But these scenes though, they look great.
Yes.
And then Harrenhal, do you know what this was really evoking for me?
What was it?
The Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, you have like the blue light and sort of the structure of it. And I guess this is more The Hobbit, but it was really evoking the Doggle Dur stuff.
Yes.
From that'd be Desolation of Smaug.
Yes.
Like I was just waiting for, because he's doing like Gandalf was, like kind of strolling through there. I'm just waiting for Thrain to jump out.
Well, and just like that, we know there's people in there because we see the troops that are like screaming, "Dragon! Dragon!" But it seems abandoned.
Yeah. And Daemon's on alert.
Yes.
and to my other comment that if it's not the most obvious thing in the world, like, I love Peter Jackson's fantasy works. So that is a great compliment. I think this is one of the best looking sets that we've seen in the show so far.
And they really talked it up in the behind the scenes. Like,
they sure did.
Like, I'm pretty sure that was half of the behind the scenes conversation.
I'd be proud.
I would be too. But eventually Daemon does find a guard and immediately, like without hesitation, just BAM!
I only talk to the man in charge.
It just takes the guy, like he doesn't kill him, but he just nails him in the face and goes into the dining room.
Which is where we are introduced to Sir Simon Strong, portrayed by, and I love this, his name is Simon Russell Beale.
Yes.
So we got Simon playing Simon there.
Yeah, we got some Simon on Simon.
I already love this character. Because Daemon breaks in and he's like, "I'm Daemon Targaryen." And he's like, "Right, okay, all hail Queen Rhaenyra, I pledge myself. Now, dinner is going to be served and..."
Supper is venison with black cabbage and peas. And red currant. Sorry about that.
And, I mean... we get, like, I know it's a little later, but we get to find out this was Lionel's uncle.
Mm-hmm.
So he's playing as Castellan because Larys is the Lord of Harrenhal. But he's in King's Landing doing his spy.
Yeah, we know.
I'm just trying to explain that he's Sir Simon is playing Castellan here at Harrenhal.
Yes. And over the course of their conversation, I believe Simon when he says that, like, nah, Larys is rogue. Like,
yes.
We do not side with him. I am speaking on behalf of our house. Like, we're with Team Black.
Yeah. I do think that he's sincere. I'm sure Daemon just has to play the bad cop, though. Like, that was what he is meant to do. He is sent over to intimidate everybody in line. But we do get a glimpse of a character who doesn't seem too significant at this moment, but becomes somewhat significant, I should say, later on in the episode. We see a dark-haired woman walk into the scene when everybody is pledging their loyalty to Daemon.
I didn't actually catch her before, so might have to go back and check that out. Also, another note on this scene is where Daemon corrects Sir Simon Strong on where he calls him my prince, and he's like, "Your Grace, that's me. You better watch your tongue." Which is sort of playing into an ongoing conversation that we've had. That's like, does Daemon want to be the king? But I think this is more playing into like, no, he wants the benefits.
Yes.
And especially he wants the respect.
Yes.
But it still doesn't really feel like, it feels like his ideal circumstance that he's working toward is Rhaenyra handling all the business and him reaping the benefits, riding around on his dragon and like claiming all the glory.
Again, this is a nerd podcast. Austin, I hate to break this to you, but how I view it is Daemon wants to be Voldemort, and Rhaenyra is the head of the Ministry of Magic that Voldemort put in place, so Voldemort could do whatever he wants.
I follow you perfectly. Excellent. Any other notes on this scene?
Did I skip over anything?
I do not believe so.
We do? Okay, so I do think that this is important. Oh, sorry. Daemon is telling Sir Simon to send a message to Grover Tully, Lord Grover Tully, and he's like, Grover is not really too lucid right now. He's not talking. He can't control his bowels. And Daemon's like, send a letter anyway.
All right.
And then we go to King's Landing.
Yes. So that is back to the Greens marching out.
Yes. It looks so good. And the music that was going on
right there at the end before the scene wraps up.
Yeah.
I liked that new little musical theme.
Yes. But we meet someone new.
Another new character. We're getting a lot of players, which is why I'm more okay looking at this as hopefully the last big setup episode of season 3 is we're introduced to what, based on what I've gathered as a non-book reader, we're introduced to like 3 pretty big players.
Yes.
Moving forward. And that's going to be, of course, we've already talked about Simon Strong. Here we are introduced to Sir Gwayne Hightower, right?
The son of Otto.
Yes.
Alicent's brother.
Yeah. And later we're introduced to Ulf.
Good old Ulf.
But we'll get to that when it comes up.
Gwayne, I get it. He views Sir Criston Cole as almost like a low-born scum, but and again, I know there's a lot of hate for Sir Criston Cole right now, but I low-key am like, dude, he's the hand of the king. Like, you're mouthing off to him like he's a common foot soldier over here. Like, you do understand the only person he answers to is the king. Like, he could kill you if he wants to.
Yeah, but also this is the spawn of one Otto Hightower.
I understand, but before we get... I know we said it during the reaction. Cole comes in with a Caesar-looking haircut over here. Which
I liked the haircut.
It looks good.
Lord Commander.
Oh, he got a fresh cut.
I'm ready to march.
Very Caesar-esque.
Sure. Yeah. I like this though.
But it very much is like I'm like, this guy looks like he's trying to be Caesar right now. Like,
could be a reference. On this, and I wonder if you feel the same way. I liked just on his face. I liked the cut on Cole. Some of his dues I've been warmer on than others, but I think that this one had the benefit of actually aging him up a little bit.
Yes,
which was desperately needed. Where I think prior to this adjustment, Criston Cole has been the one that has least convincingly aged. Like supposedly there's been a I don't know. How much time has elapsed in the show overall?
I think like 14 years, maybe longer.
Yeah, but like I'd say at least that.
No, I think it's been 20 years.
But and he's in the first episode and he looks damn near the same.
And I saw something interesting on Twitter. I don't know if this is true. Comment below if this is true or not.
Everything's true on Twitter.
But apparently, Sir
on Elon Musk's Twitter, the truth is back.
Stop the steal, brother!
Not a political podcast.
But apparently, Sir Criston Cole is only like 6 years younger than Otto.
Not in the show.
Like someone was like showing, like, I don't know if it's 6 or 8 years, but apparently like there's not that much of an age gap between the two of them, which I don't know how true that actually is. That may just be Twitter being Twitter, but
again, take the show continuity for what's actually being presented. That's what I try and
fair. I just think it's the more you know.
The Greens are marching out. This goes to...
Oh, wait, sorry.
Oh, another note from Bryce. What?
Alicent gives Sir Criston Cole her favor.
Oh, yep. She's her. So they're still going.
They're still going. It was the most begrudging, like, giving a favor I've seen in the show yet.
Still did it, though.
She still did it. And Gwayne is, like, just smirking at that the entire time.
Let's... taking into account some of his later scenes as well, first impressions on Gwayne, other than him mouthing off to Cole, it's showing a little bit of arrogance. How are we feeling?
He's got all the worst traits of Otto and none of the positives.
Oh
no! Like, I don't hate him as much as I hated Otto because we don't really see a lot of it, but I'm seeing that he has all of the negative traits that Otto has. Like, he's arrogant. He very much feels like a Nepo baby. Like, he's clearly like a very wealthy, rich kid who's gotten everything he wants in life and views everybody beneath him. And he's racist towards Dornish men.
Not great. Although he does get put in check a little bit in an upcoming scene.
Which I'm all for.
Let's get there.
But we have to first go to Dragonstone.
I know. But I'm just...
I know.
Oh, jeez. Oh, we've been so good up until... But I'm worried we're going to creep over that 2-hour mark. Let's go.
Sorry, Misty Step.
Yeah, okay. But the Black Council meeting.
The Black Council's going on, and they don't see the troops that are moving. They're like, there's no movement from King's Landing. We don't know what's going on. There's no word from Daemon. And everybody at the council is pressing Rhaenyra, like, we need to strike. We look weak. It's perfect timing. We've got dragons. We have more dragons than they have. We need to start striking. And Rhaenyra's like, no, that. And Jace is like, I don't know if you caught this, but Jace is like giving his mother like the biggest disapproval looks all through these scenes. Which
he's a little younger, a little more fired up. I think part of what Rhaenyra is part of her resistance here is coming from that conversation she had earlier with Rhaenys.
Yes.
I mean, talking about like war between blood is awful, and war between dragons is the bloodiest of all. I still think that she's reluctant to push that nuclear button.
Yes.
But that's the theme of this episode that I think Rhaenyra finally comes to in the end, is accepting that it is too late.
Yes.
To end the conflict.
Like,
sorry, I kind of cut you off.
No, I think that's it exactly. And just to dive into Jace a little bit, we haven't really seen too much of a conversation. Like, Jace hasn't been as prevalent. Like, last episode we saw him talking with Baela. The first episode he was talking with Cragen. But you really get the sense that he is ready. He just lost his brother, and like trying to tell him like, no, you gotta stay. Like, and even though he's Sir Harwin Strong's son, Daemon has been a father figure to him for the past few years. And I think he has some of that Daemon, like, I want to start burning and I want to start putting heads on spikes. Like,
I could see it. Here, let's Stake your claim. You think Jace makes it out of this season alive?
This season, I think he makes it out of the season.
I don't think he survives the series, but I think I'm with you. I think he survives the season, probably not the series.
Yeah, I think he makes it through the season.
We'll see though.
We'll see.
But I'm just saying, like, where he's kind of like he kind of has like a recklessness to him, and that like more leading with his emotions. I'm anxious to see.
I'm anxious to see as well. But moving on with the scene, Rhaenyra's lords and knights are trying to send her away, and like
most vocal of which Sir Alfred,
I
believe.
Yes, and they. Like, I get it because, like, they view Rhaenyra, like, and I almost am like, yeah, like, they're making sort of the right decision. Like, Rhaenyra is, like, stopping them from continuing this war that, and again, I know Rhaenyra is going to come to the conclusion, but it seems like everybody in the room knows that this is inevitable. Like, the vase has been broken.
Yeah, can't get the cat back in the bag, genie back in the bottle, like that.
It's done. It's over with. And it seems like Rhaenyra is the only person that is not realized that right now. And again, I appreciate that Rhaenyra is trying to go the route of peace, but you can't. Like,
next up, if that's all.
I do also like Rhaenys does remind them like, hey, you have to understand she is the granddaughter of Jaehaerys, the great granddaughter of Jaehaerys the Conciliator, and Jaehaerys was the longest reigning king, the most wise king, yada yada yada. So
which is true.
It's true.
Next up is a scene between Rhaenys and Corlys.
Yes.
In the rain. I'm fine to pretty much breeze by this because it feels a little bit like a nothing scene, other than my big takeaway is that these two are very much in love. Even the storm around them can't put a damper on that aspect, although the war does a little bit. And also Corlys is off the cane.
Yes.
Because I'm sure the writers were like, well, that's Larys' thing.
I do want to just point, like, there is a level of sadness to this scene. I can't really place what it is, but like there's like like I feel like there's something that's going to be happening. Like I don't know. Like,
oh, jeez, I'd hate to see either of these characters go.
Yeah, I would too. But like that's the like it may have just been the rain. Like it could have been just that damperness there, but. There's just a level of sadness that I was seeing from especially Eve Best as a character.
Dark times.
That
could be all it is. From this, we are over to...
your most favorite part. Rhaena leaving.
Yeah, which I feel like we already discussed.
I think it's at least worth pointing out, though, that Rhaenyra tells her to watch over the dragon eggs, which... It's sort of like saying, hey, one of these could be yours.
Yeah. We'll see.
Or
you could, see smokes right over there.
Yeah. You have sea smoke?
Last chance.
Going once, going twice.
Your uncle's dragon. Do you want me to do an intro? Like, I think you already know each other.
But, and also... Rhaenyra is clearly not happy. Like, she doesn't want to send her kids away, and she's holding back tears as they're going away.
Yeah.
And also, Jace is not standing next to her. Jace is very distinctly, like, standing off from her.
Okay. So, I mean, I see what you're getting at here. Maybe a little bit of a division between the two, but it's not explicit.
Yeah, exactly. But this is, we alluded to this. Anything else you want to cover with this?
No.
Okay. Alicent and Helaena. Mm-hmm. We talked about a little bit about this scene.
And Alicent and her child, she despises the least.
Exactly. And
Helena's all... What's her hold that she's like, I actually don't care that he died.
Well, it's like, I'm sad, but I don't feel like I should be sad because children die, especially peasant children. Why were they sad that a high lady's child, like...
This scene honestly might have weirded me out on Helaena more than any of the other, like the bugs, the prophecies, all of that.
She very much was, again, I know I keep comparing it and the DLC is amazing, but she was giving like some sort of NPC from Elden Ring vibe to me. Like
just the most vague, like kind of like floaty dialogue.
Like, yes, death it comes for children. It's merciful to come for children. Like,
but then Helaena says that she forgives Alicent.
Yeah.
Alicent says that hey, listen, I'm worried about you. It's okay to grieve. And Helena's response is, I forgive you, and then refuses to elaborate on what she's forgiving her for.
do you think it's for Cole?
Oh.
Because she tried talking to her about Cole in the last episode.
Maybe.
And you could make the argument that Cole was the one that was supposed to be on duty, and he was a little indisposed.
As much as anything, I think that could be it. Yeah.
Like that's sort of what I was thinking, but again, we don't really know what it is.
I mean, the what is like explicitly stated here is that Helaena thinks that she and her mom are cool. We're cool.
Alicent doesn't seem to think that though.
Yeah, but she's not gonna press it.
But Aegon is getting suited up, and I just want to take a moment. I love the look, but Valyrian, from my understanding, because I'm currently reading A Song of Ice and Fire. I'm rereading A Feast of Crows right now, and I've read a couple of the chapters that's going to be in A Winds of Winter. And this is spoiler alert for all you book readers. This is a spoiler alert for all book readers of A Song of Ice and Fire. Euron Greyjoy Greyjoy becomes the king of the Iron Islands, and he went to Valyria, which people are like, what? You could do that? And he has a set of Valyrian steel armor, and everyone's like, you could do that? You have that? And it was like, when they saw that, they're like, how does this even exist? This is impossible. So the fact that that Aegon had, like, it doesn't make sense for him to
in that continuity, but this is its own thing.
I know, but I would think that you'd think that they would want to stay more loyal to the books, especially seeing how things went. All the decisions that they hated the most in A Game of Thrones were the decisions to go away from the source material that George had already outlaid. So again, I loved it. It looked great, looked amazing, but it just sort of irked me that, like, where is this armor?
In the 100 years later, like, I have a follow-up question on this, because I also think it looked great. I think that this all just came from Ryan J. Condal's ass, but I'm not as bothered by that as you. So I'm looking at this suit of armor, which, like, yeah, that's like fit for a king. That's amazing. You've got a Valyrian steel armor set. Is Valyrian steel like reshapeable with their current tech? Because I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, one suit of armor, that's how many swords? And like, yeah, it's cool that you got it, but if that is within their power, I think you get.
So maybe that's it. It's two. Like, potentially, maybe Aegon did have a full suit of armor, and they're like, swords are better than armor, because there are, again, I don't know why you're watching this show if you haven't watched A Game of Thrones, but spoiler alert for A Game of Thrones. Ned Stark's sword Ice is melted down to make two swords. Like, Tywin makes two swords, one for Jaime and one for Joffrey.
Right.
So
it is possible.
It is possible, but according to Tywin, there was only 3 people in the world that knew how to do it. So my guess is, like, yes, it's possible, but
I also don't really want to see that, because, like, I'm just imagining Aegon doing that, and he's like, yeah, okay, we'll make 3 swords and 3 dildos, like a Valyrian steel bust of me.
Yes, I can see that. So, and again, I loved it. I loved the look of it. It sort of bothered me, though, the fact that, like, this would be, like, because they were even saying that it's worth the price of a small kingdom. I'm like, no, a sword is worth the price of a small, like, you could buy Westeros with this armor. You could buy all of Westeros.
That's how we actually end the conflict here, is they just show up to Rhaenyra and they're like, hey, is this cool? Like, we'll give you this, and then we get the kingdom, and you can take this to Pentos and just like own everything on the other side of the sea.
Exactly. I think that's a fair trade. But
way to go, Ryan. You just broke the whole show.
But Aegon's surrounded by his boys. His boys
These
like,
idiots.
He's like, bruh, you look so sick, man. The armor looks sick, bruh. It's worth so much money, man.
No, you totally pull it off. It's great.
Don't look fat at all, bruh. You should wear it to the brothel tonight, man. When Lord Larys.
Who?
Larys?
Larys. Still doing it.
Still doing it.
Both of us. I was doing it during the reaction there. Yes. You go, Lars.
Absurd, of course.
Larys.
Who spreads these lies?
Larys comes into the room, and they're like trying to stop him. They're like, "Oh, you have the wrong room, pal."
and Larys gets his way in this scene, but at what cost?
He got a little too close to the sun. He's not. But here's the thing: do you think he wants to be on the council, or do you think he wants? Like, I have the feeling that he wants to be more in the loop.
Maybe. There are, of course, advantages to actually being on the small council. I also feel like that comes with a lot of obligation that he's probably not into. But I get the feeling that if Larys wanted to position himself on the small council, he would have already done it. Like he could have made that happen in a matter of weeks at any point.
So, again,
at least since Aegon has been on the throne.
Here's my thought process. I get what you're saying, and I'm validating it, and I think that I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But in the books, people thought Littlefinger wasn't a threat. They just viewed him like, oh, he's a minor lord who's just really smart. Like, yeah, he's not trustworthy, but he's not really a threat. But in all reality, and again, this is my belief, I believe Littlefinger is the reason that everything in the story has happened, all the way for like Robert's rebellion breaking out, like that. And I'm happy to break in.
You have a little more perspective on that than me, but that feels like a take.
It is a take, and maybe one of these days I'll just do a video of myself recording that belief. But I really believe that Littlefinger is responsible for literally everything from Robert's rebellion to the War of the Five Kings and so on and so forth.
All right, listen, look forward to Bryce's smaller council still to the point of solo counseling on that one.
Nope, never mind. But I get the sense that Larys is in a very similar boat where people just be like, at this point, people have to know, like, okay, yeah, he clearly is useful. He's a Lord of Harrenhal. He seems to know a lot more than he should, but he's not really a threat. I mean, he has an issue with his foot. Like, he's...
That's what I'm saying, though. And we have already got a sense in this season so far that he's out of the shadows a little bit.
Yeah.
He's making some moves. He's more present. He's more visible. But that's been his whole thing, is he's like Yoda at the beginning, or when it first appears in... Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
Where he's like, his power comes from how much everyone underestimates me. So I feel like he would be pretty reluctant to relieve himself of that advantage with any haste. Again, I'm sure that this is going to open up some new opportunities for him and probably make for some interesting television. The question here is just whether or not this is what he wanted.
I would only argue that if it wasn't something that he wanted, I feel like he would have pushed back more like, oh, Your Grace, I'm honored, but I'm not worthy. Like, I don't know near as much as you think I would know.
Perhaps.
But who knows? Who knows what it is? But what Larys actually tells him is that it's rumors that the Queen and Aemond are excited that he's leaving so that they can be the ones ruling in King's Landing. Just, again, Larys is over here just...
Master manipulator.
Yes, and he does it so well, too. Like, it's not... Like, he's vague enough about it that it's like there's some rumors among the small folk. And you know he just made that up. Like no one
he's not making the rounds. I mean, he has people for that, but I don't think that's happening either.
No, I literally think that he's just like, hey, like this queen. Am I right?
I have friends who said to me, and I wasn't saying this.
Joe told me that Bob said that he heard.
Another master stroke from Lord Larys Strong.
Which led to Aegon being like, on second thought, I'm not going to leave today.
It is my idea that I will actually not be riding out on my dragon just yet.
And they were like, excellent choice, sir. Brilliant decision.
Yeah, can we hit the brothel now? Are we switching up on the sex thing?
And yes, at the very end, he's like, my father never saw purpose to a master of whispers. I, on the other hand, would like to name you my master of whispers.
Which, I mean, we say that this was maybe a step back for Larys. This was low-key a brilliant move on Aegon's part.
I feel like Aegon, like...
Dude, we said it. He should have been the hand. Like, this guy should have been on the council yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. But we...
Where do we go, Bryce?
We go to the streets of King's Landing.
We are following our third major character introduction for the episode. That's Ulf. And he seems to be a real popular guy about town, I'll tell you what.
He did. Everybody knows him. Everybody's saying hi to him. And here's the thing. Like, again, I haven't read the books that this is all based off of. And he's claiming to be a dragon spawn, which essentially is a bastard Targaryen. I don't, I'm split. Like, I really am split. Like, there's a part of me that's like, why are they making him such a big deal if he's not? But at the same time, like, if he is, like, why is he going around and saying it? Especially, like, we don't have Kingsguard to protect us over here, so it's just me. And he's just telling everybody, like...
Now, this is actually, unfortunately, a piece of lore that was spoiled for me in putting together our actor character sheet, so I will not comment on that for now.
Fair.
I do like what the actor Tom Bennett is doing with the character, though. And between him and a little bit in Freddie Fox playing Gwayne Hightower, but especially between Ulf and Simon Strong, I feel like these might be kind of what we've been craving in the show. And they both seem to be like charismatic characters with like a little bit of levity about them, like not afraid to crack a joke here and there. And I love that we're getting a little bit of that in the mix because things have been getting a little dour.
I'm getting like a cowardly version of Braum.
Sure.
Like, because he's over there like, my nephew, like my good nephew over here, my good niece Rhaenyra, like acting like he knows who they, and that's like, he's acting like he knows these people, like in that.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I was just over here talking to the king, and he said, no, you can't. I can't claim you.
He's like, they're like, yeah, because you've got Targaryen hair. He's like, well, have you not seen my good nephew Jacaerys Velaryon? He doesn't have the hair either. So, I mean, like, if he does end up being a Targaryen, sure. But at the same time, like, he seems like somebody who's like trying to spin himself that he is a Targaryen.
Cool character, though.
Cool character. Love what he's doing. But while he says, like, at first I thought he said, like, I support Rhaenyra, and that's why the bar went quiet. But it's because
he's right behind you.
King Aegon just comes running into can you imagine, like, just being in a bar, like, drinking, and all of a sudden the president of the United States just comes in and is like, you know what, drinks for everybody in here.
I mean, that'd be awesome. I don't care who the president is in that context. I will take the free drink.
Exactly. Like, it's one of those things where you're like, whoa. Like,
I don't know, maybe not. If Andrew Jackson walked in, I might have a problem with that So that little asterisk on that. But the other thing that I like is, and this isn't the first time, but I kind of like how Aegon does like the thing that I like to think I would do. Like if I was just like instantly made a billionaire, then I just feel like that I would constantly be trying to give money away and like make people's day. And just like everywhere I go, and it's like, oh yeah, you know, like you go and get McDonald's and you're just like, oh, here's like $50,000 I'm paying for the next whoever, like however many thousand people that come through here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And yeah.
And again, you can argue one way or another whether that's like an actually charitable impulse or just him like wanting everyone to love him.
So here's my thought process, and it just sort of like came to me right now thinking this, but do you think that he's trying to do all this to get the small people to love him, the small folk to love him, because he never got that love from his father?
There is a void within him. No doubt.
But the serving lady that's serving his table,
We've seen her before.
we've seen her before. It's her.
Oh,
Hold on, here.
back it up. Told ya. She's back.
No sense of fun.
And she's serving.
He probably won't even pick up on it.
No, he didn't. She clearly remembers who he is, and he has no clue who she is.
Of course not. It's Maddie Evans, the actress. The character is named Diana. She was abused by Aegon in the previous season and had a heart-wrenching scene with her and Olivia Cook. Alicent.
I'm curious to see what the like.
It's clearly going somewhere.
It's clearly going somewhere, but I'm really curious to see where it goes. Like, I don't know what it is.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. But we go to a brothel, and Aegon is drunk.
Which is also vulnerable. And
he's just going in like, what about this Bryce? Nope, she's busy. What about, nope, she's busy. He's just like walking in on people just straight up.
well, one, I just caught myself in that he is literally still wearing the Valyrian Steel Armor. So a little less vulnerable, but like drunk, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, he's being a little shit, acting like he owns the place because he kind of does.
He owns Westeros.
But then he happens upon who? Aemond. With the Madame, and I still feel like my whole like asexual theory is in play here because he comes in on him like, dude's naked, just cuddling. It's the Unsullied treatment that you talked about.
Yeah. And again, like, I really struggle with this scene in the sense that in the last episode, Aemond was over here like, my nephews, they made fun of me. Like, they made me angry. But it's clearly shown that it's her. I really am convinced it was Aegon all along. And the nephews were just like, oh, Uncle Aegon is making fun of Aemond. Let's join in with Uncle Aegon. Like, because he's going in and you can just see that Aemond is getting more angry and more angry and more angry, but not saying anything. And because Aegon is just laughing at him and just like, yes, he's clearly drunk, but still just ripping into his brother.
Yes. And we've seen hints of a divide between them. And in Aemond's reaction, it's like this is totally standard. Like he almost doesn't register all of the hateful things that Aegon's saying.
He seemed to have registered them quite a bit when he was walking away. Like the look, like he looked like he was ready to kill somebody when he was.
Sure, but it wasn't like he wasn't embarrassed. He didn't like make a big scene about it, which isn't really his way anyway.
No, but.
To wrap up on his sexuality, though, this is such an interest. I'm so invested in this. Aegon makes fun of him because apparently the Madame was his first sexual encounter, which I'm inclined to believe, and that like it would seem that he has sort of clung to that. again, we don't see them actually in the act. Like, they're just cuddling, which maybe that's post-sex. But also, again, could be just post-sex. But you stand up, you see his junk, totally flaccid.
We get a good look at it.
We sure do. No further comments on that. But it's a delicate thing, because I don't want to imply that if anybody listening, watching is asexual, that there's anything wrong with that. But it does seem like Aemond is put off by the way that others are reacting to his sexuality here.
Yes. And it would make sense for, like, I will say this. It would make sense for Aemond to be asexual, in the sense that a big message that kept coming up in A Game of Thrones is the reason that Varys was so dangerous is that he didn't have a dick and he wasn't thinking with his dick. While Tyrion was getting into trouble because he was thinking with his dick quite often. And a lot of men in this series was getting in trouble because they were thinking of it with their dick. And if Aemond is not motivated by sex at all, it could make the argument that his love for fighting and his love for killing is that desire.
Or that's like one way that he's trying to fill his own void.
Well, and I was also really getting the sense, like, I think this really showed, like, this, like, I hate to be just pile driving over here, but I think this is just another sign that Alicent isn't that great of a mother, because he's having to go to, like, I just don't think he got that physical love and attention. He clearly didn't get it from Viserys, but I'm not sure if he got any of that from Alicent either, because it's...
Yeah, and this is kind of like what I was getting at, in that, like, if you're out here and like a good cuddle sesh is sufficient connection for you with a partner, like, that's cool. Like who is anyone else to judge your needs there?
Exactly.
But regardless, he is still going to a prostitute for that.
Yes.
Which is, in my opinion, not a healthy way to go about creating real intimacy and human connection in your life. And especially that it's like revealed in this scene that, like, it's always this person, but that is a paid relationship.
Yes.
Not healthy. Like Alicent has not necessarily raised a lot of well-adjusted people.
Yes. And I'm really, like, Aemond is probably the one character I'm so curious to see, like, where his character is going to be at the end of the season. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of characters that I'm really curious to see where they're going to be at the end of the season, but Aemond he's right there. Like,
Aemond is also one of the, like, he's just so capable. And this is just me again. Like, it is cool that he's like keeping the coin and all of that. Like, eyes on the prize, like, stay focused. But like, there was no chance of those guys getting him. In fact, I would say short of like, it's like Alicent and Rhaenyra and Daemon, and then like Aemond is like one notch below that of characters I'm confident do not die this season.
Yes. I mean, Aemond is...
and within that, I'm just so excited to see where he goes in the span of the series. Like, he's kind of broken, but he's also like supremely capable in a lot of ways and so driven.
I am getting a lot of like post episode 5 Criston Cole vibes right now with Aemond. Like, episode 5 for Criston Cole. Well, so episode 10 for Aemond was episode 5 for Criston Cole, because
and we've all, like, the show seems to be like softly underlining that they have a lot of common, their lived experience,
but we really haven't seen too much of Aemond. Like, the most significant thing I think that we've seen is the coin. Like, that's it's interesting to see his sex life, but we're not seeing any character progression out of it. sort of like we weren't really seeing that much character progression from Sir Criston Cole from episode 6 to episode 10 in the first season.
Yeah, but I'm hoping that the way they're writing the character and Ewan Mitchell sort of keeping his cards close to the chest is going to result in some pretty intense payoff down the line.
I'm sure we're going to see even more payoff with Sir Criston Cole, but we've seen some of that payoff already.
That's what I'm. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and we're on the same page.
Excited to see where it goes.
There's a short little scene where Rhaenyra is cleaning up her son's toys, and she finds the letter that Alicent writes.
And she finally decides to read it.
Yeah. Good job, Alicent. I mean, good job, Rhaenyra.
Well, also good job, Alicent, for communication.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that seems to be...
Communication's key, Austin.
if you could just get everybody in the same room and talk it out, then I'm sure the conflict would be over.
If only we had an example of that.
If only there was an opportunity for that to happen.
But I think we come to...
What do we come to?
Sir Gwayne and Cole. They're in the field, and Sir Gwayne is like just casually laughing with his boys. And Cole is like, hey, we're making camp over here. And Gwayne's like, but there is an inn over here, and we will join you up in the morning. But if there's wine, it may be later. Am I right, boys?
And then Cole realizes, wait a second, we're right in the open, and also we're in the middle of a war, and also the other side has dragons.
And they have more dragons than us.
Mm-hmm.
Because Cole was like, he was staring up at the sky, and I really at first was like, is Cole really just losing it that much? Like, is he like...
Yeah, because earlier in the episode, there is kind of a sense of him like zoning out, like sort of disassociating over his whole circumstance.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, that's just another of that. And then he's like, oh, he in fact has a brilliant thought.
And this is where I'm going back on, like, yes, Cole is not a good hand, but he's a good military mind. Like, he's constantly looking for those military operations, excluding when he's in King's Landing, when all the Kingsguard are just laughing around and he's literally just...
Good days, bad days.
Good days, bad days. But Baela comes in and she sees the armor, the light reflecting off one of their armor.
Yes. And then this leads to the sequence. How do you feel about it overall? The all of the knights, they spot the dragon. It's Moondancer. More on that coming up soon. But then they rush for the cover of the trees. Baela on Moondancer pursues, but they ultimately get away, and she doesn't pursue them into the forest.
I'm split because I don't think she could have done more than what she did, because technically she was supposed to just scout and report, but she clearly she was wanting to kill some high towers. But I almost wish that she could have at least got one of them. Like, I think we need a little blood. Like, we need a little blood right now.
And that's what I'm saying here. I hope the money they saved on not going anywhere with this action sequence shows up a little later.
Which I feel bad, because we got rivers of blood at the beginning of the episode with all those dead bodies.
I know, but you didn't see anybody get stabbed through the face.
True.
Or neck, I guess.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, they definitely are. It was all just a tease. They're blue balling us over here, there,
and this is the real capper again, just based on all of the advertising there.
Yes, but they make it to the woods, and Sir Gwayne is showing some like actual respect to Criston Cole, because to this point he's been like completely belittling him, calling him lowborn, being racist, and so that's another thing. Like, people are, especially from where Sir Gwayne are, they hate the Dornish. The Dornish, like, they hate the Dornish. The Dornish hate them, and a lot of people in that realm of Westeros just are racist towards Dornish men. And apparently Sir Criston Cole is Dornish. I think that was said in like the second episode. So
right, but essentially just saved his life.
Yes.
So a degree of respect.
Racism solved.
Dragons solve racism. That's what my main takeaway here. Thank goodness.
When is that t-shirt being made?
because you have like the Dragon Tales characters. You got Org and you know.
We're getting there. But we go to the second Black Council meeting, where Baela reports that she saw Sir Criston and some Hightower troops, and she was like, I did not attack. I strictly just saw and reported. And Rhaenyra's like, how could you have seen him from so far away? And she's like, it wasn't so far away that I actually was.
Yeah, I don't have a ton other on this scene. I'm good to move on if you are.
The only thing that I want to press is like her lords are still pressing, like, we need to attack, like, go in. Cole is right there. Like, Cole is important. He's the head of the King's Guard. And she's like, I'll let you know. Let's put a pin in it.
Yeah, I mean, this is to the point where they're like, I mean, they're telling her about it, but they're essentially like looking to act without her. They're like, hey, Your Grace, you're so important. What if you just pissed off and let us make some decisions? Like you could go somewhere safe and then you know, you like leave us with all the power. And she's like, no.
Is that
also
treason?
I'm not making any decisions.
And Jace, like, the disapproval you can see is just so clear on his face at this point. Like, he wants to go kill Criston Cole. Like, I am honestly surprised that he's not going and getting on Vermax and just flying out there himself at this point.
Is it it's Daemon's weird dream sequence thing there?
This was actually like, I know the scene between Rhaenyra and Alicent is pretty good, but this entire sequence might be my favorite sequence.
Oh yeah?
For this episode. And Daemon seems to have some sort of dream where Millie Alcock,
yeah,
she back, baby.
I mean, you thought we wouldn't see her again. We did a whole award about it. Here we are. Bonus.
Is it like the Heisman where they find out that they were being paid by the school? We have to take the award away from her.
Yeah. The Tour de France. It's like, oh no, the first 15 were doping. So actually, no need to retcon the Lizzies. It was minor enough. But Daemon, it's pretty clearly revealed to be some kind of dream, like trance sequence where when he runs into a young Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra says something to the effect of, oh, I'm always cleaning up your messes.
And she's sewing Jaehaerys's head back on. And first of all, there's like eerie singing going on throughout this. Again, Elden Ring vibes. Like, I swear I've heard that very same song of like being sung in the background of like a witch boss that we're fighting here. And I think we see in this moment that Daemon genuinely feels guilt for what he did. Like, the looks that he had on his face when Rhaenyra was saying that, like, I think he's feeling guilt for what he's experiencing.
Yeah, and this is to our read on the fight that they had in the last episode. Oh, wait, is Daemon defense? It is on for a moment.
Yeah.
This is going back to the episode. Our read on the last episode, the fight between Rhaenyra and Daemon. I got there. Where we're like, no, they love each other.
Yeah.
They want this to work. It's just things are super high stakes. They both kind of goofed up. This is confirming that to me. That
Yes.
like Daemon is feeling some kind of guilt about the whole Jaehaerys situation.
That whole
And perhaps how he has acted in other moments in their relationship.
Yes.
Also, weird that it's young Rhaenyra. I don't know if that's to show like he still like views her as that little girl because that's how he's known her.
It may be that. It could be that's the Rhaenyra he fell in love with. That could be like, I don't know. But he wakes up out of his dream / trance and he's in front of a werewood. And that's significant because the werewood is like a symbol of, the werewood is a symbol of the old gods in A Game of Thrones. And Bran's like power where he can see the past, the present, and the future comes from the fact that he can like see into the werewoods. And so like there's some sort of old gods connection there. And the woman we saw earlier walk into the room is behind it. And she's like, this will be the place you die. And then walks away.
Did you want to say any more nice things about Daemon?
Good scene.
Okay. Daemon defense. Off. Okay.
Whew.
It's like a rush every time, but like not a good one.
No, it's you feel the wickedness.
Up next is Rhaenyra and Mysaria, and they're talking about the letter, and basically Rhaenyra is like, if I could just talk to Alicent, then I'm sure we could sort this out.
Yeah, they'll just name me queen if I go and talk to Alicent.
I'm sure she'll see that I'm right about everything and she's wrong about everything, and that'll be that.
Because it's worked in the past.
Fair. And what do you know? They actually start to set that plan in motion.
Exactly.
Because Mysaria knows where she can get to Alicent alone.
The Sept.
Now, this play feels enormously impractical to me.
Yes.
But I like what it gets to if you put that aside.
Here's the thing. Like, I have to just say this in defense. Like, this is just as dumb as Criston Cole's sitting here.
Yeah.
Like, in fact, I'd say this is more dumb than... Because Arryk at least had Erryk at Dragonstone, and he looked exactly like them. I have a feeling that Rhaenyra has a very distinct look, and everybody in the Kingsguard, the Gold Cloaks, have probably seen Rhaenyra a fair amount and would be able to recognize her.
Very high risk, and it's also one of those that it's like, where they get to in the scene, the conversation between Alicent and Rhaenyra, they ultimately come to, and there's kind of a satisfaction in the way that it's laid out for us, the audience. They're like, it's too late. Alicent does not have the power to reverse all of this.
Yes.
To quote the great Ian McKellen, things have been set in motion that cannot be undone.
Yes.
But also, like, Rhaenyra, I think you could have sat down and probably figured that out before going into it.
No, and I think that's the frustrating part is, like, I don't think, like... It just seems so impractical in a lot of ways. Like, one, Aemond had killed her son, like, that she loved. And we see that Rhaenyra is a good mother. And we saw how angry she was in episode 10. I don't feel like she'd be just willing to just put that aside. And then in 2 episodes ago, Jaehaerys got his head cut off very brutally. Like, I don't think that they're going to be like, oh yeah, they're a dime a dozen. Like,
and there is a war going on.
Yes. Like,
I mean, the degree of that is, I guess, a little still up in the air, but it is so hard for me to accept that Alicent, the mother of the sitting king, would be, like, allowed to go anywhere alone, other than, like, her own personal chambers being guarded.
She did have the Kingsguard, though, that were surrounding her.
Yes, but that's the other side of it, that it's like, okay, I don't care if Alicent specifically asked you not to. If you see a hooded figure approaching the queen in any context, like, you stop that. You cut that off immediately at the root.
It's not practical, but they wanted... We had to get that sexual tension between Emma Darcy.
Oh, you're gonna go there.
The internet's doing it already, Austin. I'm just telling you what the people want it. And they openly talk about it. Darcy and Cook talk about it openly already.
Of course, because internet's gonna internet. And I mean, all of what we just said, I actually kind of really like the scene. And it's
a good scene.
It's arguably a like pretty like open and like interesting scene between probably the 2 strongest actors in the show.
Yeah.
So I mean, how are we going to be mad about that?
Exactly. It's just, it doesn't make sense how we got there, and it doesn't make sense how we're going to get out of here. Like,
yeah. But you know what we're doing here?
We're beating around the bush.
Have you seen Heat?
With
Al Pacino, Robert De Niro.
I don't think I've seen it yet.
Okay, they're great movie, by the way. We should get that one on the list. Not our list. They're definitely no dragons in that. But there's a big scene in the middle of Heat that is the most talked about, most significant scene in the movie.
Is this a spoiler alert?
No, not I wouldn't say so. Where in the film, Robert De Niro plays a master thief.
Okay.
He's doing the heists. And Al Pacino plays I guess you'd say a detective. He's the policeman or FBI, whatever he is. He's the good guy, quote unquote, after Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
And in the middle of the movie, Al Pacino in his cop car, he pulls over Robert De Niro. And it's not like he can like arrest him there, but he's just like, hey, you and me, let's go have a talk. And they go over to a diner and they're just like talking to each other. And it is a amazing, powerful, like movie star moment.
Yeah.
This is exactly what they're trying to do here. And it's very contrived how we got here, but I think for the other things that I've outlined here, we have these great performers who are kind of powerhouses in their own right within the context of this show.
Yes.
It's a cool thing where they can like have this like frank conversation about the state of things and what's going on and how I'm feeling about this, and this is my perspective. And
because like because Rhaenyra's trying to have that personal touch. She's like, you remember that tourney that we went to so long ago when we were best friends? We see that men want blood, but we women know that's not what we want. And like really trying to play into it. And Alicent is having like, I think the proper reaction, like, what are you doing? Like, we're past this. Like,
I mean, also there's the whole moment she's like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
What is this?
It's like she's pulling a knife out.
Yeah, which, respect to keep the knife on you, Alicent. You go, girl. Smart move.
Or she got her concealed carry permit over there.
Do it. Yeah, with a knife. Come on.
That's the best thing you could get back then.
And I was even, I was even in our watch there, I was kind of joking, like, watch them figure out the whole Viserys goof up, Aegon's dream and all of that right here.
Yeah.
I saw the king.
Watch them just figure it out. Right? She was like, oh, you said Aegon. That's the... Gears
Said he
turning.
was the prince that was promised to unite the realm.
What?
I desire peace as you do, but
My father used those words.
This is it. We're going to wrap it up. No season 3. But then, like, for my expectations there, they kind of pull a switcheroo. They do, in fact, talk about that.
Which, I want your thoughts. Do you like that they did that?
I do.
Okay.
I do, because I think it ties the episode together really nicely. And I think now is the time for us to actually talk about that, where I've already laid it out a little bit, but this really brings home the point that what this episode is trying to illustrate is that it is too late to reverse the conflict. And so I think them going there and these two characters having a conversation where, face to face, they can have some empathy, and they actually do get to the bottom of like, oh, this is why you feel this way, and this is why I felt this way. And you could argue that that is what has led to the war. Even the recognition of that fact, and for them to admit like, oh, you were right about this, and I was right about this, and we both agree on that, is not enough to reverse this conflict, which ties in beautifully with the opening, with the Brakens and the Blackwoods, where they're outlining how nobody even really understands where this conflict started. It doesn't matter. It's a runaway train. And I think the way that they get to that at the end of this episode is pretty special.
I agree, but hear me out on this front. With them coming to the understanding and seeing where the mistake was made, I feel like this completely just like it blows up everything Alicent believes of the legitimacy of Aegon being named king.
But now I'm so interested to see where she goes. Like, I think there's going to be some real conflict here because she recognizes that she has a part in this, but clearly, like, she's going to have more loyalty to her blood.
For sure, but like I feel like the whole and it may just be strictly a marketing thing on their part, but I feel like they're not trying to get too connected with one individual character in the show because they want you to be like, okay, we want people to be Team Black or we want people to be Team Green. But with Alicent acknowledging that this was a mistake on her part because her husband was senile and on drugs at this point.
He tried to milk the poppy in monarchy.
He tried
to do
it. That he did. And it's like it almost completely diminishes team. And again, I know I'm team Black over here, but I feel like this completely just like deteriorates all of Team Green's like claim, because you could make the argument before saying, yes, yes, it's unlikely, but he changed his mind. He was like, Aegon is the prince that was promised at the end. And you could go ahead and say, yes, he was saying that Aegon needs to be king, all that good stuff. But now that it's proven that that's not what was said, it's everything that they're doing is based on a lie.
From Alicent's perspective, I think that that's maybe making a little too much about this conflict doesn't necessarily come down to what did Viserys want? Because Viserys didn't necessarily have the respect of all the players in the realm.
Fair.
And there is a chance. Like, this is one of those that I'm like, oh, this is a neat, like, kind of curveball that they're throwing us, the writers of the show. There's a chance if they fumble it from here, then this could really deflate things. But I think it's either going to make Alicent, like, she's going to be super conflicted moving forward, and like I think that could lead to some interesting moves on her part.
Okay.
Or it's just going to eliminate her whole like false like claim to like legitimately supporting her side and just kind of wreck the rest of it. I don't think I really hope that's not what happens, but I like it. I'm excited to see where it goes.
I think what bothers me is like there was a level of legitimacy to Aegon's claim based off of that. And I liked that each side had a level of legitimacy to the claim. But based off of this revelation, it's strictly just a claim of conquest for Aegon now. Even though, yes, he believes that he was named as heir, it's only going to be decided by conquest at this point. And like, sure, I'm not going to say that I don't want this to be decided by conquest because conquest makes it more exciting. But I almost like that each side like had that level of, no, Rhaenyra has been named the heir and was named heir through all time. But no, Aegon, his father, at the very last second realized that he couldn't leave the realm in the hands of his daughter. He had to leave it in the hands of his son. So he named his son as the successor. So that's where I'm coming across. Like, I liked the legitimacy level from King Viserys, but I also do appreciate and get where you're coming from, where you're saying Viserys didn't claim that level of respect around everybody.
Also, it is key that before Alicent realized that she had made a mistake here at the end of this episode, she did pass on this belief to Aegon.
Yes.
Aegon has been shown that he is choosing to believe that his father changed his mind and named him as a legitimate heir. Also, there is just a point of conflict in that, like, another huge chunk of the conflict here is not just what Viserys wanted, but people looking like, okay, well, there's tradition over here that the king did in fact have a male heir. Also, his female heir that he, like, put his weight behind. Her descendants are one, clearly not a product of like a bona fide a noble arrangement, like born like with not her husband, which is a big no-no. They're that for the first few, and the rest are products of incest. So like, I think in the mind of the people and all of the players in the game, there still is like a legitimate, even if you remove the whole kerfuffle with Viserys in episode 8 of season 1 there, I still think that there are some stakes and some arguments both ways.
I hear that, and I I can get behind that. My question though is Alicent going to reveal to Aegon?
Ooh, that could be a juicy scene. He's not going to believe it.
Well, he didn't really believe that he was named heir.
Yes, but it is very convenient for him to believe that now. Runaway train. I'll keep saying it.
Oh, it is definitely juicy to see what's going on. And
then the episode wraps up with some music that seems to have really been taking cues from that Dune 2 soundtrack, but I still liked it.
I mean, they could do worse from taking cues.
Any final thoughts on the episode before we get into fit picks and dragons?
I think I'm just going to reiterate, it's a good episode. It's not as good as episode 2, but a lot better than episode 1. Like, as far as build-up episodes go, pretty good.
I'm going to need a little bit more. But everything points to episode 4 being a big one. So if they land that one, we're cool.
No, I agree. Austin, what was your number 1 fit pick?
My number 1, and this feels like I'm kind of using this as an opportunity to retcon a little bit, but I'm giving my fit pick to Daemon in his armor.
Okay.
As he's exploring Harrenhal there, where I recognize that was your pick last episode, and I'm with you. It was in consideration there. Wet dragon. You get the armor like glistening a little bit with his sword drawn.
Yes.
And you know, this the amazing set design is really like highlighting that even better. I loved everything that was going on there.
Oh, I understand. It was my number 1 was it my number 1? It was up there for me.
Yeah, because as he was riding off, that was at the end of, or not at the end, that was in the last episode. So it had to have been your pick last episode.
Yeah. Well, my pick is going to sound a little hypocritical because I was bashing on the fact, but it is Aegon in his Valyrian Steel. Like, taking all the story aspect, it looks really good. Like, it legitimate, yes, Daemon's armor has all the dragon design. His Valyrian Steel Armor looks like he's supposed to look like a dragon, like with how the gauntlets are, with how like the scales are actually across it. Like, it just looks so good. And the ripples in the armor, like, it does look just so good.
See, part of me it looks great. And the armor design is really cool. Just aside from all of the question marks that we outlined before. I'm a little bit waiting for it to show up in another context. I think the right helmet could take the look to another level, but I am with you on the design overall.
Yeah, I loved it. But what was your follow-up?
My runner-up, I actually had a lot in consideration for this one, but okay. I'm going to settle. If I can give an honorable mention, it's actually going to Rhaenyra in the second half of the episode. She's wearing so it's the black variant of another outfit that I already gave a fit pick to.
Yep.
Where it's like the exact same thing with like the kind of V on the neckline there, but it's all black this time.
It's like metal like that right there.
Yeah, a little shine on it. It was super sleek. I thought it fit the scenes it was showcased in really well.
Yeah.
That's my honorable mention. What do you got?
Ditto.
That makes it easy.
Two minds think alike.
All right, we are approaching that 2-hour mark. The dreaded dose.
Yep. But
Moondancer. Let's get into it.
All right. Moondancer. Pretty cool design. I actually really like the little mohawk the
zebra hawk.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, they said like tiger stripes in the behind the scenes. I was getting like the army men in Toy Story vibe, like the coloring that they had there, like the black and like that. I know it's a lot darker of a green in Toy Story, but it's almost like that military, like green and black.
To me, because they say it's a very pale green.
It is a very pale green.
Which is a cool look. One of my favorite dragon designs so far. I'm really into this. I'm excited to see more of it.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like a black marble.
Yes.
look to it, which I was pretty into.
Yes.
Also, it's a more like rugged looking dragon, which I don't think we're really going to have any opportunity to talk like character here. It's just all aesthetic in this one, but I'm fine with that. It's just got like kind of some bumps and like spikes just kind of jutting out of it in different spots.
Did you notice its tail almost had like a flail look to it?
Yeah.
And all the had the frills on it and everything. And I don't know if you noticed, but I feel like it had the shorter neck like Meleys has.
Yeah, a little stouter, and I don't know if that's more the I would assume it's more of a youthful dragon.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, it did read as moderate strength character over speed.
Yeah. So, wolf or T-Rex?
Probably wolf.
I was thinking wolf. The skull wasn't big enough, in my opinion, to be T-Rex. However, it didn't seem like a long enough snout to be a wolf, but
they're all more or less a mix, but that's where I would lean.
I would lean wolf as well, like just based off of the little that we were seeing right there. Cool design though. I really did love the mohawk spines on its head.
Well, Ryan J. Condal, our dear friend.
Dear Ryan.
Listen, he's calling a lot of shots for this show that we are both very into.
Did I say anything bad about him?
Respect. His line is he's like, the only thing that I said, that's not at all how he talks. He's like, I wonder if I can do a Ryan J. Condal. Let's give this a shot.
Oh, let's hear it.
My only note.
Okay.
I'll work on it. The only note I gave them was David Bowie. And I mean, that's kind of a pretentious soundbite, but I think it translated to some cool results.
I didn't see a star on its eye, but
hey, Bowie had a lot of looks through the years. But on that, I took note that in its design, it looks like it has eyeshadow.
Oh, really?
But it's cool. It makes its eyes look like a little beadier and a little bit more menacing. But yeah, they're like dark circles around its eyes, like deeper than you see in most of the dragons.
Okay. I wonder if they're trying to like portray like it has that hawk look too, like be able to just like zoom in and just.
My last note is the side horns on its head look sick.
Yeah, I'd say so. But for me, I think again the mohawk just took it. It took too much. I wasn't looking at the horns too much.
Alrighty, well, I think that's
the burning mill.
Now, wait, what about the notable first for this episode? You thought we forgot about that very, very important reoccurring segment. But, well, what actually happened is that I tried something at the beginning of the record where I was talking about how this is the first episode without Rhys Ifans, and then Bryce pointed out that Rhys actually isn't in episode 6, even though he's credited on IMDb as being in episode 6, and Bryce was right and I was wrong, and I looked like a fool. So I guess you could say the notable first here is this is the first time I totally bungled the notable first segment. Now back to the show. Yeah, that's going to do it for season 2, episode 3.
Yeah.
I had a killer prompt for people, and I have quite forgotten what that was going to be. So I'm going to make up another one on the spot.
Let's hear it.
And it's coming up once I stop talking, once this paragraph ends, and the next begins.
Maybe if I go 3, 2, 1.
Did Larys want to be on the small council or not? Was he pulling the whole strings? Is this to his advantage? I think we had kind of a back and forth on that, and I would like to hear the Big Liz community's thoughts.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, folks. Go ahead and comment below. I'll put the prompts there. But thank you for staying and listening to us as we've been breaking down in outrageous detail this episode of House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 3, The Burning Mill. I am one of your hosts, Bryce Wilson, Sultan of Socials, joined by the Prince of Production himself, Austin Snyder.
That's me.
I hope you all enjoyed the episode.
Big Liz Pod on social media. We'll see you next week.
Good night.
That's all for this week's Dragon Lore. Takes cold and hot, spread shore to shore. Enjoyed yourself? Please join the squad. Follow on social media at Big Liz Pod. And one quick reminder before you go, to rate, review, and share the show. Thank you for listening. It means a lot. See you next week, same time, same spot.